Welcome to another episode of Deconstructing the Home Show. I'm Christopher Gill, and today we are going to be talking about a concept that when I learned about it, changed my entire investment strategy. What am I talking about? I am talking about N.O.I, net operating income. And basically, net operating income is the way larger multifamily units, anything over 4 units, 1 to 4 is valued like single family real estate. It's not based off of income. NOI, net operating income, is how anything 5 units and up and then commercial property is valued for the market. What does the property make? So what is the property worth? And like I said, when I learned about this, it changed the way I looked at real estate to some extent. So why is this so important? What does this mean for you as an investor and for me as an investor? And basically this means that if you can figure out what the current NOI of a property is, and then that's valued based off a cap rate, which basically means how many years it would take for you to get back your entire original investment, a 10% cap rate. If you put $100,000 into a property and you were selling it at a 10% cap, if you're selling the property at a 10% cap rate and you sold it for $100,000, that basically means the property makes $10,000 a year in profit. So it would take 10 years for you to recoup your entire initial investment. And that can fluctuate based off interest rates, the area, the quality of the property, whether it's a D, C, B, or A level property, A being obviously the nicest, D being pretty slummy. And usually you get the best returns I've found in the real high C, low B to A minus kind of property. The B's are where you want to play. And you're not the smartest student, but you're not the dumbest. And it's a great place to play. And there's a lot of interest. It's usually stable property. But back to NOI. So NOI is basically adding up how much the property makes. So that can be rent roll, that can be tax rebates that are calculated on a yearly scale. What does the property make per month? And then you add that up per year. And then you take out all of the expenses of the property except for your debt service, which is your mortgage payment. So everything except for that basically goes on one side, and what it makes goes on the other side. And that affects, and so then you add those numbers up, you come to what the actual profit is after subtracting all of the expenses, and you get a number. So let's play on the whiteboard here for just a second. So basically, let's just say real easy numbers here. Your property makes $5,000 a month in rent. We'll write that right here. Don't you love the messy handwriting? I didn't come to do a calligraphy class, that's for sure. And then you figure out, okay, you have taxes, and taxes are $500 a month. So you have $500 a month in taxes. You have an insurance payment of $500 a month. Keep the property insured, make sure it doesn't blow up. Then you have some repairs, some maintenance. Let's just say you have $300 in maintenance, and you have roughly $1,000 of repairs, updates, whatever your tenants need on a monthly scale. All right. So we got a couple numbers here based off your $5,000 in rent total. So you add these up. So 500, 500, that's like 1,000, 1,000. So you're paying $2,300 of your $5,000 toward expenses. And because I'm not a math genius either, I've got a handy dandy calculator. So you say $2,300 a month, and you multiply that times 12 months. So this property costs you $27,600 a year. One more zero. $27,600. You have $5,000 times 12 months. Obviously, it's $60,000 a year in rent on the property. What is the difference between those two numbers? $60,000 minus $27,600. And this is really practical. Doing this process that I'm doing for you right now in this example is when you are looking at multifamily real estate and someone says it's being sold on a such and such cap rate. Basically, these are the things you need to know to figure out if this is a good deal or not, and then if you can improve on this deal. So basically, the property's profiting $32,000 a year. And with that, then it can be sold on any cap rate. So at a 10% cap rate, this property would supposedly be worth, let's find it right here, about $324,000. So again, so you take the $32,000 times 10, that basically you'd be paying $324,000 for this property at a 10% cap rate. At a 7% cap rate, that number changes. It jumps to $462,000 a year, so over $100,000 difference. So the lower the cap rate can dramatically affect what the property can be worth. And here's the cool thing. Because that's the only thing an investor is looking at when they're looking to purchase your property, this is the only number that matters. The great thing about investment real estate is it's not emotionally driven, or shouldn't be emotionally driven if you're a good investor that really knows what you're doing. So because this is the only number that matters, anything you do to increase your bottom line over here, how much you make, directly affects the value of the property. Let me give you an example. If you figure out that you have water leaks and your faucets and your shower heads are not water efficient, if you go in and improve that, and let's just say that saves another $500 a month on your water bill. You add that up at the end of the year, that's $6,000 that you have now saved. And then you say, okay, if I'm selling this property at 7% cap rate or an 8% cap rate, you just take that number and divide it by the cap rate, and you basically just increase the value of your property $75,000 by figuring out a $500 a month savings simply in your water bill. Now, you probably didn't put $75,000 into the property, but you just improved the value of your property $75,000. That is huge. That is incredible. So you can go in to a poorly managed property, even if the rents are at market rate, if you know, hey, they are overpaying on their taxes, they need to go and protest their taxes. The taxes are way high. You can save, tens of thousands of dollars potentially with that, depending on how big the property is. And again, you improve the taxes drop $10,000 a year at an 8% cap rate. That's again a savings of you've now increased the value of the property $125,000. So this all factors into your investment strategy. So what a lot of people do, and what I'm looking at a couple properties right now, is saying, well, there's two ways to look at it. You can either look at properties that are being poorly managed, the rents have not been raised in years, or there's massive latent defects to the property, there's deferred maintenance that you can go in and take care of for lower than what you were adding the value of the property. So if you say, hey, I'm going to add $500,000 of value to this property by figuring out the cap rate, but that's only going to cost me $200,000. You've just made $300,000 on the property. The second way to think of it is you can figure out how much the property will rent for if you build it new. So you can go and find land in an area and then say, okay, my cost to build is $85, $90, $100 a foot. I can rent this property for $1.70 a foot, $1.50 a foot, whatever it is in your market, and you can figure out if there's money to be made. Is your building cost lower than what someone will pay for the property based off an N.O.I. cap rate basis? And again, larger companies, another way to get the cap rate lower, which obviously we saw that increase, that the lower the cap rate, the more the property is worth. There are a couple ways to do that. One of the biggest ways is to have a property that's being well managed, well run, high, low turnover rate, real high residency rate, low vacancies, having a property that's stable. A stabilized property in San Antonio is anything that's rented over like 93, 94%. So that's basically entirely leased all the time with, not long periods of time where the property sits vacant. So if you have a property that's well run, you have records of everything, you have leases with every people, and there's so many properties, even large properties, that are super poorly managed. They don't keep a good record. They don't know really where their money is going. You keep really good records. You have everything organized. That makes it easier, and that makes it easier for someone to pay a lower cap rate because they know they're going to have less work to do in managing the property when they purchase it from you. The other way to do it is to improve the class of the property. So taking a property from a C to a B to an A. And basically that's just done through remodeling and improving the look of the property, the amenities, granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, new laminate wood floors, updating the paint, updating the molding, those sorts of things. You do a nice redo to a property and you can improve the class of the property. Higher class properties, again, because there's supposedly less to do when you get into the property, they will pay a lower cap rate. It will take a longer period of time for them to return their money, but they're okay with it because they know, hey, this is completely mailbox money. I'm going to hire a management company. I'm going to have very little to do with this property after I've purchased it. So, again, that's the N.O.I. That's how it's roughly calculated. if I went too fast, go back and watch that section of the video, but you basically figure out what the property cash flows, how much does it rent for per year, what are your expenses on the property, then what is your bottom line, and then you divide that by your cap rate, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10%, and that gives you the final value of the property, which you could then go and sell it for on the open market. And again, the great thing about this is a non-emotional purchase for investors. This is, if it's a real large purchase, $3 couple million, it could be an insurance company that's purchasing it from you. They don't care how it looks. They're not emotionally tied to the property. They simply want to know, is this a safe place for us to put our money? Is this a safe investment? And you say, yes, I've stabilized this property. We bought it for $500,000. We put $300,000, $400,000 into it. It's now worth $2.5 million. That is what you can make if you've done a good job of positioning this. And the thing I love about this, again, it's not an emotional decision. It's also not as tied to the market, right? So single family is directly tied to what people will pay for that and whether they can qualify for a mortgage. If you're selling to a large institutional investor, again, insurance companies, a REIT, a real estate investment trust, anything like that, they're not as tied to the economy. Obviously, they're not buying if the economy is in horrible shape, but they don't really care, again, what's this area doing as much. They simply want to know, what is this area worth? Where is this property going? Is it stabilized? And then what's the cap rate, and how much are they going to make at the end of the day, and how much you're going to make if you've done a good job of positioning the property, buying it right, and then improving it to get a low cap rate with a lot of return, with a lot of money they're being made every year by fixing latent defects, improving the efficiency of the places, lowering your taxes, anything like that improves your bottom line and makes you money.